Wanted to do a short introduction to the National Climate Assessment, and the fifth one in particular that just came out in 2023. This is a tremendous resource that is actually mandated by Congress to be done every 4 to 5 years. It's what you might call a whole of government assessment of the climate science and also the government's responses to climate change impacts with a particular focus on the United States. So it's similar to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that takes a global look, but also distinct, not just because it primarily focuses on the United States. It is distinct because by having that particular focus, it goes down to a much greater sense of granularity. So there are 10 regional chapters and can find them here between chapters 21 and 30 that allow for much greater specificity by location, which is super valuable when you are trying to get a detailed understanding of climate risks and climate impacts in particular areas. But also to compare them. Certainly lots of topical cross-cutting ones, some international, and I had the privilege of being one of the authors on the international chapter for this fifth assessment. And I'll say something about the authors because that is another area where there is a slight difference from IPCC. IPCC, they're all scientists drawn from all over the world. These are all folks from the United States. Most of them on the chapter team are the scientific experts from within government. So in my chapter, for example, that had the international focus, we had representatives from the Department of Interior, Department of State, Department of Defense, U.S. Agency for National Development, NOAA, another two of us who are academics, and one person working in the private sector and kind of service delivery. And so it gives you a sense that it is different in that way, and but also goes through a rigorous peer review, public, like the IPCC one that has a public comment period. But also, I think we had 4 rounds of interagency review. I think there are 15 agencies now, 14, 15 agencies that are under the U.S. Global Change Research Program that coordinates the report. And so that meant lots of getting input, getting feedback, responding to that, sometimes accepting it, sometimes it's tremendously helpful, often it was, that would be great if we had more space to include it. And so it meant it was rigorous. And then in the final go round, the National Academy of Sciences, I think, gave us 250 pages of comments as well. So was multi-years in the making, and I hope you will draw upon it for all sorts of work in this class, and as well as you kind of move on and are looking for the most up-to-date assessments. From here, you can read, say, here's the Midwest chapter. It's organized by key messages, and you can get drop down and get more the figures. It's easy to miss stuff, so it may be easiest to go to the downloads and then download a full PDF of the chapter so that you kind of have it all together without having to open drop downs and such. Either way you decide to do it, I urge you to check it out. There are all sorts of additional resources like an atlas. We'll have a section on communication later on in the course, and certainly this is the first time that art explicitly has been part of the storytelling with a purpose. In the NCA process, there's some fantastic artwork that helps tell the story. And there's also a series of podcasts associated with the chapters and webinar briefings for the chapters. So lots of ways that you can get insight from the National Climate Assessment. Definitely see it as a resource that allows you to have the most up-to-date information on climate impacts, but also responses in the United States.